we have focused on cloud extensively in our discussions with a lot of CIOs and experts and solution providers over cloud, and have reached a conclusion that some of the key concerns which are there in the minds of CIOs are around reliability, data ownership, vendor lock-ins, and things like that. But today, if you see, the reality is every business wants to move to an environment that can help them to compete in the market and look forward in terms of business growth and a lot of other things. So to start the evening, we would commence with the panel discussion. We have a very knowledgeable and experienced panel today to deliberate upon how cloud can help you grow further. There would be, some of the key, key concerns would be discussed during the panel discussions. To start with, I would like to invite, first of all, Rishi Agrawal, who is Chief Operating Officer, Bluefin Corporation. Rishi, please. Then I would like to invite Ankush Tiwari, who is Senior VP of Engineering at Dec18 Mobility. Ankush. Then I would like to invite Sharat Erani, who is CSO and Director IT at Intellinet Data Sales Private Limited. And our last panelist, but not the least, is Sujit Kumar Shrikar, who is Head IT at Dec18 India Private Limited. Thank you, panelists. I think there is a visibility problem and the dice is placed here. So to start with the discussion, since I would like to assure you that the discussion would not be around whether cloud is important or not. Today the point is it's about when you start your journey with cloud. It's not about whether you will move to cloud or not. It's about when will you move to cloud. So the starting point is really critical for your cloud journey. So we'll focus on this point, and we'll also take in some of the few examples which are present in front of us. Plus, if you see the startup culture around, and some of the startups which have taken the limelight in last 1 year in India and abroad, and which are present, even in India, some of the examples like Ola, Uber, and InMobi, which are mostly cloud-driven businesses. So cloud has helped these businesses to innovate and create applications which can help them grow. So how can the learnings of these startups be derived, and how can the learnings of your competitors can be derived? So to start your journey for cloud. So I would like to start with Sarat. I would like to have some of his experiences with cloud. Sarat, if you may please jump in and put your thoughts around cloud and how do you see it in today's context?
Thank you very much. It's really an amazing evening. Good evening to everyone. This is all about the cloud of clouds, I can call it. There is an absolute necessity of moving into the cloud, there is no doubt. So where computation is need of the day, but not the data. Wherein you have the agility in computation. Challenges are more. The basic hindrance for this, as per my experience, is basically a couple of things like organizational culture. Second thing is about a lot of legacy systems available. even with the standard applications, a lot of customizations which have been done, and it is a perceived losing control. So that is a main hindrance to move on. But when we talk about the actual requirement or the keeping pace with the technology, or even with the keeping pace with the need of change, I think there's no better way than the cloud. That's what we start with. And today, if I talk about my own organization, we are fully on cloud. There is no data center owned by us within our organization. That's where our journey is. When people are talking about moving into the secondary applications like email or other things, I don't call it as a secondary application. All are critical, business critical applications. So cloud is the way. That too, hybrid is definitely the look forward thing of today's context.
I think that's an interesting point, and you have set the context since you are 100% cloud organization. I think that's an example we need to look at and ponder upon, since there are definite learnings with Sir and how they move to cloud. As you mentioned, that it's not about some of the business critical applications. Today, everything is business critical. So you need to focus on taking most of your applications to the cloud. So moving on to our next panelist, which is Sujit Kumar. I would like to have his thoughts on how cloud journey can be started through further the discussion which Sir has.
Good evening. As Sharat said, cloud is the second option. It is now the way to go. I come from a media entertainment industry, and when the cloud was started a few years back, I never thought that even media entertainment can look at the cloud as an option. Since we work on audit of the data centers, anytime our own clients comes to our facility and audit us, and we wanted similar flexibility with the cloud providers. But over the few years, I am seeing that all the cloud companies are evolving. I was attending one seminar a couple of weeks back, and they have something like dedicated private cloud where you can have your own firewall hosted there and you can have complete control of your hand. So the cloud is definitely evolving. Cloud providers are understanding the content requirements, security requirements, and I'm sure we will get the whole control even on the cloud the way we will do the in-house data center. So I'm saying that the content security, which is the biggest concern we talk about the cloud, is getting diluted and it is becoming like a business requirement now. So that's what my thinking on the cloud side.
I would really applaud the points which you mentioned. Most of the time is spent on debating security aspect of cloud. Security is part and parcel of everything we use in terms of IT. So it's an ongoing process. So it's really important that we look now beyond it, and since security will evolve as cloud evolves further. So before I move to Ankush, I would like to request Rishi to put in his thoughts around
virtualization. At that time, when virtualization as a story didn't exist, about 13-14 years ago, people thought that virtualization will result in a number of problems, which includes, loss of control, which some people thought. They thought performance will be an issue. They thought scalability can be a big problem. They didn't know how to manage issues if there was a layer. If there was a problem in the virtualization layer. Today, 76% of the enterprise workloads are virtualized. Nobody talks about the trivia anymore. And both things have happened. One, that technology has evolved and become a lot more robust than it was 10 years ago. And second, organizations have developed the capability. There was always this fear of the unknown. The same fear of the unknown which was there for technologies such as virtualization about 10-15 years ago is there for cloud today. So as organizations become more aware, more educated, their CIOs, their next level of IT managers, they understand how it works, what the skill, competency and capabilities are, what kind of agility, what kind of scalability, efficiencies, what kind of high availability that you can derive out of leveraging cloud. I think you will see this technology adoption life cycle to just continue to move forward. And just to my earlier point, which Omkar, you resonated, which it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when for most of the organizations. Some organizations are early adopters, and a lot of them are in a wait and watch mode, and some of them will be late adopters. And depending on who you are, which business you are in, the imperatives change, and as a result your adoption is sooner than later or later, whichever the case is.
And I think it's about now, if you want to really leverage the true benefits of cloud. It's not about even benefits, it's about using a platform to further scale your business without any worries around building IT infrastructure and IT capabilities. So well said, Rishi. So may I now request Ankush and hear him on how his journey started with cloud and what are all his experiences around cloud.
Yeah, so hi everyone. So I'll talk about, let's see how the cloud has impacted the consumer world with respect to the enterprise world, right? I think all of us agree that the IT environment in the enterprise world needs to be more productive, right, as compared to the consumer world when we're talking about. But let me ask a question to the audience here, right? Let's say you're in the consumer world, you're not into your IT office, and you click a picture of this event and share it with 5-10 different friend circle. How many options you will get today? Can anyone answer? You're not in an enterprise environment, right? You're in a personal life, so you have plenty of options today, right? Facebook is an option, WhatsApp is an option, Instagram is an option, Twitter is an option, plenty of more, right? Dropbox is an option. Now, let's change the scenario. Let's move this to the enterprise world, right? Suppose you have to click a picture and share it with your boss, 2 other colleagues who are in engineering department, 2 other colleagues which are in some other department. How many options do you have in your enterprise world? The first that probably will come is email, right? Unless there are some real high-end enterprises who have adopted to Dropbox or Box in a serious way. But typically the first option that comes to our head is email, which I think honestly is the most abused platform inside enterprises, right? So why is this change, right? So if you look at traditionally, right, I mean if you look at the 2G, 3G, 4G jump, right, there are countries who are skipping a 3G beat from 2G, they're directly going to a 4G. And we, as Omkar was talking about, a lot of agile startups are coming up which have been massively impacted by the cloud and all. But to be very true to the large enterprises, right, they're carrying a big baggage. Their IT infra is not like 10-day-old, or they're not a 2-year-old company. But look at that, right? When a 2-year-old startup or a 3-year-old startup, where did they start from? Right? The first thing that they picked up was the best available choice. That's what we will believe in, right? Like when Uber started or when Ola started, they would have done all their homework to pick up the best available IT infra of their choice. Now, nothing against the major enterprises, they have been in the market for 40, 50 odd years. They have grown up traditionally and have the huge IT infra. But today we are seeing there is a change happening in there as well, right? So, as everybody has said on the panel that, is this a choice anymore? I'm sure it is not, right? I mean, it's just a question of when it's going to happen. Like I'll tell you, I run my products, and today, I started as a 2-people company like 5 years back, and today, we are running a fairly decent size operations. And when my sales guys are running and they are closing in a 100 people SaaS license or a 10,000 people SaaS license, I don't have to scratch my head at all, because I know I'm backed by an infra which is going to back me up with the kind of deals that are coming. And just, very quick example, one last example on this one is, suppose a builder is building a building, or say a school is there. School for his building gives it to a construction person, right? But for his learnings, they go to educators. Now imagine in the enterprise world, we are probably good at doing the few businesses that we are in. They could be mechanical companies, they could be IT companies. We will be doing fairly well in the business that we are in. Do I want to take the headache of infrastructure and management inside my office, or I leave it to the best choices that are available in the world? That's the first question I ask. And if you really ask me, cloud, is this a new thing? I would say definitely not. 25 years back, what we are doing with a mainframe PC, which was 2 rooms away, and there were long wires coming to the terminal which I am using. Today, the only thing with cloud has changed is that room probably is few oceans across, a few cities across, rather than the same building. But that's the power of cloud that we're using. We were doing it 20 years back. It's just that the compute and bandwidth is giving me the flexibility that it should not be near me.
Yeah, Ankush, I think you have set the context how we use cloud in our day-to-day life from some of the personal apps, and I think that's where we all need to learn from. I mean, what really matters is whether your timely attempt to move to cloud will help grow your business, will help your CEO think about further investments into cloud technology so that they can scale up in the future without worrying about hiring more IT persons themselves, rather than putting their data on third-party data centers. So these are some of the key areas we need to focus on. But in addition, we have seen in our conversations with some of the CIOs from large organizations, one of the largest tire manufacturers in India, have recently signed an on-premise ERP deal. I won't name that manufacturer, but that's a reality. At the same time, there is another organization, financial services organization, which has signed recently a deal on analytics for on-premise. So there is confusion. Organizations still want to invest on-premise. So may I now seek some of the thoughts from Rishi, who handles this solution part and has worked with a lot of enterprises, mid-size, large, and some of the smallest ones. Rishi, can you please throw some light as to what really perturbs these CIOs from jumping onto cloud for most of their applications like ERP and analytics?
Sure, Omkar, that's a great question, and thanks for bringing this topic up. And first, let me start off by saying that cloud is not a one-size-fits-all, right? So it's not like you have a platform and you ruthlessly either go embrace it 100% and move everything that you have on cloud, or you don't do it at all. I mean, that's where a lot of times you'll see that companies take a very calibrated approach towards how to embrace cloud, how to adopt it, how to operationalize it. And it's not just about technology transformation. So when you are adopting new technology, you always have to look at the ecosystem around you. Do you have the people to design it, solutions for the new platform? Do you have the people to support those solutions? Do you have the people to migrate your existing workloads from where you are to the new platform? Is this the right workload for what you're attempting to do? What kind of business are you in? If you are a cooperative bank versus an insurance company versus a traditional private sector bank versus a retail firm versus an Ola and Uber, the choices of platforms will change. So my point to you, Omkar, is it's not a one-size-fits-all. Organizations have to look at what workload are you talking about? What problem are you trying to solve? Cloud is a platform which can help you craft solutions. It's not something that, either you do 100% or you don't do it at all. Companies take decisions based on the ecosystem availability, and they take a calibrated approach towards migrating to cloud.
I think that's a critical point, and I would come to this point since the business requirements in every vertical, in every organization are different. There are business complexities available in every business environment, so you need to take decisions based on those and deploy a particular technology. So before we move with the discussion, I request the audience to jump in please with their questions if any they have. So there is a beautiful hostess around, she will bring the mic to you and you can ask the questions which you have.
Myself, Charudattu Kulkarni, head of ICT from MIT Pune, well-known engineering college in India. So what is the scenario in educational institute, especially higher educational institute, with respect to cloud? So whether they are taking this as an opportunity to transform their IT infrastructure on cloud. So what is your opinion about this?
Okay, so sir, I have a product in the education domain which I run from cloud. So I'll probably try to answer your question. So I think as I was giving an example, right? What an education institute does best, right? Their thing is to deliver education. Of course, you don't want to have the headache of how many servers to buy, what kind of server to buy. If I've got tomorrow opening 2 new colleges, what do I do? Where do I go and get the infra from? And suddenly, if the content is growing on your side, again, where do I store the content? Now, having said that, what I would say is that in the education sector, cloud is extremely important if it has to, kind of become successful. And if we are really looking at a digital education delivery medium, we need to move to that, right? And I'll give you some examples. I have done some businesses on the universities like SRM and all, where we have taken them completely on cloud. And today, what we saw, we are doing this business pan globally. But what we saw, our geography faces some challenge, right? It's easier that, it's very easy for me to say that, you move to cloud, but MIT, you have, presence at a lot of places. So how do we ensure that, even when we say that, okay, MIT should be on cloud, how much of this could be an online versus offline mode, right? Our geography throws new kind of challenges to our users. So for educational institutes, typically, they need to be on cloud according to me because the scale at which some of those operates are very, very high numbers we are talking about. But having said that, there has to be a right mix of online versus offline mode, and we need to use, typically what I have seen is, as an education medium, technology is not being adopted in our schools or colleges today. And, I think the problem is on our side as well. I think the enterprises haven't innovated enough to give a good solution to Indian kind of geographies. We have had solutions which have been successful outside, but I don't think they work in the same form in our country just because of bandwidth and other reasons. So schools have to also step ahead, and they also have to look at cloud seriously. But having said that, at the same time, industry has to come in and kind of offer a online plus offline kind of mode. And if the medium, what I've seen in schools, if it is ERP and all, it's very easy for schools to go ahead and take. But when it is about learning assistance and all, it's quite a fragmented space, and there is no clear winners existing in our market today. But we are trying to see that how we can play a role with cloud and some devices into that space.
What I found in education institute, especially the number of technologies are more, and no single company is having mastery on the technology, all the technology. For example, SharePoint implementation. That is very important for collaboration in the education institute. But nobody touched to that educational point of view today. And ERP in education is a failure. If you see, out of 100, hardly 20 institutes could do the ERP in education. So how we can solve the problem of legacy software where the bundled software together, we can say enterprise level software?
So I'll take that again. I think when we try to create product for our market, right? What we thought was there were 3 very critical things, right? One was if I have to onboard a student of a school of 5,000 or 10,000 and 30,000, what is my onboarding time and how much help I need from the school to onboard? So typically we think the onboarding time, it is beyond a couple of days, I think it won't succeed. The second question that we asked ourselves while designing this is that, you are not an IT shop, right? Engineering college, we still consider that they can build everything by themselves, but honestly, that's not true, right? And nothing comes for free, right? Technically what has happened is all the companies have come in and say, we are giving you this for free, that for free, and if today you ask my honest opinion, free doesn't drive usage, right? So if the person who's getting it for free also doesn't value it, the person who has given it, he has given it for free, anyways he was not himself valuing it at the end of the day, right? So there are no freebies in this world. So the thing is, the follow-up is, how does an institute kind of run this, right? Deployment is one aspect. After that, am I asking a school to go and build an IT company to maintain it? Again, that's not possible, right? So for us, when we are looking at an education market, we are looking at ease of deployment. And today, like if I am running a 15,000 school, am I asking that with more than 1 or 2 guys, can I support that? I think these are the first two critical answers that someone needs confidence on. Beyond that, everything else starts. I think the end user play comes after that, that what is in it for the teachers, what is in it for the students. Now again sir, I will be upfront in answering that, if you're looking at one-stop shop for solving everything, I think, if it happens, it is great, but honestly it is not easy, right? Even in IT, right? I have an IT company. Can I build all kinds of software? Definitely not, right? I am building something, but for some of the things I need to look at the experts. So there are ERP experts which have their own value, there are LMS experts which have their own value, there are cloud experts who have their own value, right? So we need to ensure that we become, it's like building a house. I have a carpenter who takes care of my carpenter needs, I have a plumber who takes care of my plumbing needs and all, right? So we need to go to specialists to do that. And I think the ecosystem is maturing. The industry needs to step up and offer institutes solutions like that, and also institutes have to kind of lower some of the expectations that somebody will come and a Santa will come early and kind of solve all my problems. I don't think that's going to happen very, very soon. And the business case should be there for all to get into that. And free definitely is not the solution that education has got. Whether it is people coming and offering huge software free, I have seen hardly anyone adopting it. Other than email, nothing gets adopted for free.
So I do want to add one quick perspective on this. So we are looking at in this conversation so far around the management portion of a college or an institution. Now let me just switch gears. Think of students in electronics, computer science and some of the other streams who want to learn programming, for example, right? And in order for them to learn programming, you need a variety of environments or sandboxes, if you will, right? So the same guy is learning Python and C and C++, and they are learning some application softwares and so on and so forth. If you try and do all of this in your traditional IT, the time to build those kinds of infrastructures and VMs and environments and provision them on demand and have thousands of students across your engineering colleges actually log into them and use them and have the right storage for them can be an absolute nightmare. I mean, you may end up spending a few $100,000 or a few crores in just building that infrastructure, and believe it or not, that infrastructure becomes end of life pretty quickly because technologies are fast changing. And I'm sure seeing you smile, you probably resonate or concur with that thought process. Now imagine a different scenario. Take cloud for example, right? You can go spin up VMs for a half hour, 1 hour. You can create your own PaaS environment, put all kinds of softwares that you need, pay for the amount that you're using and don't pay for the rest. So the kind of solution that you should be looking for is directly related to the kind of problem that you're looking to solve. I don't think there is one-stop shop, just like Ankur said, for every problem go here sort of a situation. So every workload will have a different relevance, and depending on what you're trying to solve, the solution will be different. Whether cloud is pertinent, relevant in that case or not, is subject to the problem that you're attempting to solve.
Just to take the discussion further, may I request Sharad to put in his points in the context which you mentioned, education as an example. If there are other verticals, how can those verticals or maybe organizations from mid-size, large or maybe smaller size can use different applications in the cloud?
Sure. Today, we are talking about Industry 4.0. That means everywhere connected and everything connected. That's the place we are moving in. Be it the machinery, be it employee engagement, be it vehicles, everything is now connected. As I earlier said, computing is agile. So every day, new things are coming up. It's like a wave. What is relevant today may not be relevant tomorrow. Be it a technology, be it a computation power, be it a storage, be it a server. That just keeps on changing. While we have that complete setup or a data center, what we call, internally holding it tight, only satisfaction is I can see my server. Beyond that, I don't see any value to it. And having it inside.
In other words, they need not focus on building IT infrastructure, which organization used to do earlier.
That's one of the aspects. As you rightly said, technology changes very fast. What are you going to do with an existing set of investment what you have? the business keeps on coming back with change in the pace as they see the market required. That change is not possible when we have our own center. So one I recommend is, be it any business, maintain whatever you want to have seen as a critical within for your organization, plus go with the cloud. That builds you a hybrid kind of activity, which talks about hybrid cloud in today's context. So combination of that will give you more smoothness in going ahead with the competition or delivering it to your own business. That will be very relevant.
So hybrid is an option for large enterprises which have multiple applications. For mid-sized companies, and as Rishi, we were having a conversation before this discussion started around the chartered accountants and other smaller businesses. They all need backups, they all need cloud services which they are not aware of, since a lot of hard drive crashes happen and other technical snags which they suffer from in their day-to-day life. How can businesses of all type can use cloud, and what cloud can do for all kinds of businesses?
That's a great question, Omkar. Typically every technology comes with a hype cycle, right? So there's a lot of hype around it. There's words like high tech, which are often used. We looked at this problem, we actually created a whole solution where we said, why don't you think about a cloud-based backup for your laptop, where it doesn't matter where your employee is and what he is doing, the moment he is hooked up to internet, it will go and put a backup on the cloud. And it will be an incremental backup. That means any change to an existing file, any addition to a file, any deletion to a file will get reflected on the cloud. And you don't have to ever worry about your backup ever again. The guys loved it because they never realized that they could use something like cloud so simply in their day-to-day. And guess what? This is just one use case. When we work with small and large and medium-sized companies, we come across lots of business problems that they have, which can easily be solved by leveraging solutions of the nature that I'm just mentioning to you. And this is just one simple, trivial example which Omkar and I were talking about. So the concept that cloud is something abstruse, I think needs to be discarded. There are solutions packaged which are available in the realm of everyone to use. The biggest problem I have seen so far is, until the journey of cloud has started for an organization, there is fear. The moment they pick the journey, by embracing even a small workload, the fear gives way, the education happens, and they start truly recognizing and realizing the potential of what cloud has to offer.
So before we wrap up the conversation, I would like to ask Sujit.
Processing agent. We have a workflow process called rendering, where all the creative workflows are converted into the image format which we see in the theater. It's a completely processor-intensive process. So we are looking at only pushing that services to the cloud. We are not looking at any other services on the cloud. So every business will have to see what processes they can move to the cloud and get those benefits. So everyone has to find out what thing they can move on the cloud and take a step ahead. I think that way they can get the business benefits.
Thank you, Sujit.
For attending today's session. Again, welcome. My name is Rini Talukdar. I am a part of the sales Microsoft Practices team in Bluefin Corporation Private Limited. I will take you to this topics today. I'll cover the story of cloud, some Azure fundamentals, Azure virtual machines, introduction to hybrid cloud and their features, then some use cases, and finally the introduction of Bluefin Corporation. Sorry. To start off with, let's start by talking about the current trends that we are seeing today. The transformational change that is happening is bringing across a big impact to our strategies as well as the customers' IT budgets, decisions. So when these consumers are thinking about accessing files from a variety of devices, it has also resulted in data explosion. When we say data explosion, it is predicted that data is growing at double percentages every year as we are speaking. Now, all these strategies, the new pattern that this generation is following. So, what is happening? The old traditional method of computing, which is tying a particular application to a particular server, is changing. It is replaced by cloud computing. We have a small IDC reading which says that 40% of the enterprises have moved to cloud computing. To support what I just said right now, so business is transitioning. It is transitioning from a device model to a service model. The Internet Survey report has said that by 2020, most of the work will be done either by mobile or web-based application. By 2016, 82% of the server workloads will be running on virtual environments. And by 2020, out of the 100% of your IT budget will be spent only on cloud. What makes the story so compelling? The entire model of economy is changing. It is moving from a capex to an OPEX model where you are paying as you are scaling up. There is a significant amount of reduction in the cost of operation, dynamic scalability, high availability, shorter deployment, and mobility. Of course, you can work from office, you can work from home where the data is centralized, and ease of manageability. I'll just move on to the next slide. This was the cloud story that I explained so far. So what I will explain next is some basic fundamentals of Windows Azure. If any enterprise think about adopting a public cloud, they will consider few needs. They will have to abide by few principles. To start off with, integration. What do we mean when we say integration? Every company will have their own set of data, their servers, their infrastructure. But when they are thinking about adopting cloud, they cannot think about adopting public cloud as a silo. They want a proper integration. They want maybe some of the applications to be deployed on cloud itself. So you have to ensure that your public cloud is well integrated with your existing premises. Apart from that, when you're running an organization, you need to use multiple variety of workloads. Workloads like different operating system, databases, framework, service tools. So you have to choose an environment which will support this heterogeneous and complex need. This takes care of the second principle, which is heterogeneity. And lastly, of course, when you're running a company, you also have to abide by certain rules and regulation, because rest of your IT will depend on you. They will know that you have to run those applications in a secure manner. This is when you need a trustworthy vendor. And what makes Microsoft Azure so trustworthy? With the word Microsoft, you know that there is security and reliability in place. We spoke about integration. Earlier in the panel discussion also, there was a major discussion about integration of cloud to your ongoing premises. So when we talk about integration, you would like your and offering. You can either use cloud or you can use your existing setup. And apart from that, Microsoft is the only company which gives you a seamless experience across all these platforms. It has got all the tools in place. All the tools in place that is required for virtualization and development, identity. Everything is in place which gives you a seamless performance across your database, across your on-premise and any other third-party services. I mean, am I clear? If you have any questions, you can just stop me. Fine? Okay, I'll proceed to the next slide. I spoke about multiple workloads. I spoke about multiple languages. This is a slide where you will show some of the languages, devices that Microsoft Azure supports. It also it is also supporting complex frameworks like Hadoop, SQL Server. So Microsoft has not only been supporting these multiple workloads, but it has also embraced these technology. That is the reason we call it as open, broad, and flexible. Next, before you move on to the journey of cloud, you have to ensure that the vendor you are working with is committed to cloud. And this commitment comes from Microsoft Azure environment. So in that case, or even if you talk about provisioning physical servers to those testing and development environment, so it takes a minimum amount of time. You don't have the developers waiting behind in their desks. And second of all, I spoke about low cost. So in case of a general scenario, it goes to a capex cost, right? I mean, virtual machine, then, or if you provision physical server, the cost involved is huge. But in case of Microsoft virtual machine, the cost is very minimum. It is calculated hourly. It can go to 7-8 rupees per hour to 100, 200 depending on your consigns and size. So this is how we are at costing. Second of all, as I said, you will get ready images of Linux flavors, Microsoft. So in that case, you do not have to purchase licenses. In the generic scenario, you would need servers, physical servers, licenses. So this takes care of your entire setup. You will get a ready-to-work platform. And in case the virtual machine is not in use, you can just shut it down. That will save a huge cost, right? These are the two major reasons that I explained. Why should you create virtual machines in Azure? Apart from that, it is I told you it is also very
New. Oops. I think I made it quick. Too small. So I'll say custom create, and then I'll just give my name. From tech test, and then I'm going to define where my VMs basically need to reside. South Central US and West US, North Europe, Southeast Asia. We also have like data centers of Azure in India. So right now it's not available on my subscription, but you can definitely go and create your VMs and network on in India DCs as well. So I'm just going to select Southeast Asia for now, and I'm going to hit on the next button. So this particular configuration allows me to, going forward, projects come and projects go, so you keep on increasing that amount of data. So, and there's also a mandate of, keeping your data, you need to back it up and also keep it for long-term retention because of compliances and other issues, right? And in order for all these to accumulate, if you're buying new infrastructure, new storage, your data, your storage footprint is also keeps on increasing, and there's a whole sprawl attached to it. And then you have, whenever you want to do a DR test, they often go untested because you don't generally get back to. The restoration exercise is not very much frequent. And only when a disaster strikes, so there's a need for a restoration, then the DR team gets into action, calls those tapes, and one fine day they realize that the tapes were not backing up, were not storing the data appropriately, and it's of no use. So the DR also goes untested, and as a result, the enterprise can lose their entire data set. So it all, and then the rest of the things are taken care by Azure itself, which is on the backend side. So archival, disk-based backup, tape infrastructure, and offsite geo, and offsite, placing your data in an offsite location. So everything is taken care by Azure, by the Azure platform. So right now, when you bring in the hybrid cloud storage, you basically move from a capex model to an OpEx model, right? So you're paying for whatever you are using. If your requirement for today is 8 terabytes, you don't need to go and directly purchase 10 or 15 terabytes. You can start with a lower box, and then as and when you are growing, when your data is growing, it automatically integrate and pushes it to the cloud, and whatever size of storage that you're using on cloud, you get billed for it. So that's what it basically means. Then you have since the Store Simple has an inbuilt technology for taking backup, so it has local snapshots as well as cloud snapshots, so your data is 100% protected with this particular plans.
Then you have a single consolidated solution, right, by one vendor. So in a traditional architecture, you would have an NetApp, an EMC, a Dec, a Hitachi sitting in your environment, and you need different people, different personnel to manage those storage appliances, and you need to have multiple skills. So this particular appliance, you don't need a multi-skilled guy to just manage it. It's a very simple appliance, and you can start it up, mount it up, create volume, start dumping data on it. And it also simplifies your disaster recovery. So at any instance of time, whenever you feel like you want to perform a DR drill, you are able to do that without any hassles. It's very simple. So hybrid cloud storage, it's ideal for unstructured data. So as I said, whenever you start creating, new projects come in, you start dumping files onto your storage, and as and when the projects get they get completed, you don't generally go ahead and access those files on a daily basis. So most IOs that happen is on the working set of data, and that resides on your appliance, while the ones which is not being used or rarely access data insights has a high latency and low throughput because of the internet latency coming in between, because you're connecting via the public network, and then it has the largest capacity. So you can go up to 200 terabytes or 500 terabytes depending on what model that you're buying for the store simple. So you can store that much volume of data. Okay, so when it comes to store simple architecture, as I told you, it's an enterprise grade appliance, has dual controllers. You can use multipathing from your Windows server side, so you can use iSCSI to connect to your appliance, and you can use the MPIO feature for higher network throughput and redundancy. Now, tiering. So you have your sets of data protection mechanisms. One is a local snapshot, another is cloud snapshot. So snapshot is just a point-in-time copy of your data. You can reside it on the appliance itself, and you can reside it on cloud as well. There's a difference between your traditional EMC or a NetApp and store simple. So in a traditional storage appliance, what you need to do is you need to reserve certain storage space for the snapshots to reside onto the appliance. In this case, the algorithm is highly optimized, and the appliance uses very little space for keeping those local snapshots on the appliance itself. The cloud snapshot basically help you when you lose your physical appliance, and then you can clone your data from cloud and then present it to your on-premises applications. Okay, this is the most important part. Let me first walk you through the target use cases. So where do you deploy store simple? So one is it's a green case for file shares, right? Because it's an unstructured data. Then when you want to archive your virtual machines, so there are developers who create virtual machines, and then they are not using it every day. So instead of placing it on a high performance storage, you ideally move it onto the store simple volume and run directly from there. You can place your SharePoint content libraries, right? So you have a SharePoint application server, a database, and a content library. So on store simple. And then you have do not deploy use cases. Strictly don't use store simple for the workload. So Exchange, which is a very high transaction application, don't run Exchange on store simple. Then don't run any other ERP, any other CRM like Dynamics and all on store simple. That's it from my side. I will have Rishi take over from here. Yeah.
So I know it's been a little bit of a long presentation. I'll conclude the session with a 5-minute demo of something that is going to be extremely relevant to each one of us in the room. And I'll tell you why. I'm sure a lot of us concur on the fact that a majority of our high growth that we see is unstructured storage. There was a time when unstructured storage used to be a very small part of an enterprise. Today, believe it or not, the research firms suggest that unstructured data is growing at the rate of 40 to 80%. In some cases 40, in some cases 80. Bottom line is nothing's growing less than 40. And I'm sure some of the folks in the room who are a victim or a beneficiary of this, whichever way you would like to see it, would agree that those rates are unprecedented. You buy storage for few years, right? So storage life cycle is what, 4 years, 5 years? And within a year, year and a half, you realize you're already full. That's exactly what's happening. And in majority of the cases, you'll find that the data that you have does not even require a high performance storage that you've applied to it. But how do you know that? There is no real quantitative assessment method to determine where you are. And that's exactly why we found a need in the marketplace, and we created something which is a tool for you to know how much storage do you have, where is it kept, how many files, directories, what kind, how much of it is hot, warm and cold. That means what is active data, passive data, and really cold data. And cold data is something that people have not even accessed once in 5 years, and you're keeping it on your high performance storage. So all those are real life examples of what companies go through. We have designed a cloud-based SaaS platform in order to do your entire storage assessment with clicks of buttons. And I'll show you how. So our product is called Storelytics, right? And once you log in, so I know I'm between you and the dinner, so I would not take more than a few minutes. Now you go and create an assessment project. So I'll say demo, and let's say hit next, and I just run, these are some metadata files that we have created offline on our zips and NFS shares, right? And I'll say upload these files, and these are nothing but PowerShell and Unix utilities that you can run from any server in your environment, give it a mount point or give it a UNC path, and you have the metadata. It does not look into what the file is, it just reads the metadata, right? So we've been able to upload. I have created a demo project for you. Here is what it looks like. And I hit the button and I get a complete scorecard of, I don't know why the resolution is a little off. Okay, so you will see here that we have discovered 3 file servers, 5 drives, 2 million directories, 18 million files, and some 24.41 terabytes. And we have seen that within this we have 3 file servers, and each one of them has multiple shares or drives, and so on and so forth. Now if I wanted to go and look at the report, I can just click a button and I'll get an entire report, and the report tells me how many files do I have, how many directories, what is the size, and look at this, right? This is very interesting. So you'll see that in this case 67% or so files, which amounts to 12 million files, are cold files. Now these are the files that have not been used even once. Nobody has clicked these files once in 180 days and above. And you can set this value. You can define your own cold data. Some organizations say that, listen, anything more than 2 days it's cold data. And I'll give you an example, right? Call centers, classic use case in Indian industry. You have to record a call for training and quality purposes. I'm sure all of you have heard that message. And you have to keep that call record for a certain number of months. In most cases, it is a minimum of 90 days. And based on the industry that you are in, that record retention can go up to 5 years. If you're a bank and you're processing a transaction on the phone, that can go up to 7 years. In all likelihood, 99.9% of these call recordings are never accessed. Only in escalation specific cases are these call recordings accessed. Now imagine a traditional scenario. You'll go buy a Dell Culogic or a EMC or a NetApp and put all these call records there. 3 days later, that call record has become an archive item because nobody is ever going to look at it. But you are spending $4,000 a terabyte, $5,000 a terabyte worth of storage, which is actually high-end storage, which is local on-prem storage, in order to keep that call recording. In this industry, 4 days is cold. In another industry, 1 year may be cold. We are working with a number of media companies which create a lot of content, video content. They are doing content editing, right? MP4, MP3 files. And while the project is on, while the movie is being edited, all these are hot files. The moment the movie is released, this becomes cold file. But you don't have to necessarily go and delete the file, you have to retain it for posterity. Now why would you go and retain it on high performance, high cost, on-prem storage? You have to just retain it from an archival perspective. So a lot of those use cases are there in the industry, and when we work with customers, we are able to help them save a tremendous amount of money. It's not even funny anymore. But the key is to know your data map. Do you understand your data well? What is your data? It is telling a story, believe it or not. Your data tells a story. Whether it should be high performance, high capacity, or it can be low performance, high capacity, whether it needs to be CapEx, OpEx, all of those decisions we are able to make by a report of this nature. So we look at this and say that these are the kind of file types you have in your data. So if you look at this, 33% of your files are PDF. When we look at your data profile, we can even say what is the level of compressibility in your data. Microsoft Office documents or any Office document, they offer compressibility up to 87%. A PowerPoint is 82 on an approximate level. Excel is 87. Word document could be about 80%. So when we look at your data, we can even say what should be the level of compressibility. You can go and say, listen, I know PDF files, don't show me PDF files. So these are highly interactive graphs, as you can see. You can just go and figure out, for example, let me show you another. So you don't want to see cold data, you just want to see hot data. You go and you click and you can recreate the graph. Actually, because of some resolution issue, you don't see these very well, otherwise they are laid out on a wider thing. So if you see some of this, it tells you how many files of what size and what is the number of files, number of directories on this, what is the average size of the file that we found, what is the maximum file size that we found, total number of files that we found. So there's a lot of meaningful, actionable data that we are able to gather via Storylytics. Why do we do that? Only to understand your data footprint, look at the viability of leveraging cutting edge and new technologies in order to help you manage it more effectively, make it cheaper, and make it operationally more convenient. Because backup, snapshots, archives, disaster recovery, all of that becomes by click of buttons. You don't need high-end storage engineers and architects to do some of those things. So just wanted to show you this. I know the resolution has not been very helpful because of the some mismatch here, but I'll be outside, the team will be outside. Welcome to have a chat. We would love to come and talk to you, understand your data footprint, and see if there is any viability of you leveraging some of these technologies. So hopefully, the discussion today, although a little long, has given you some perspectives on how some of these technologies can be leveraged in real life. This is not too difficult. We're working with tens of clients in this region of a variety of sizes. You don't have to be an enterprise to leverage cloud, is the bottom line. The cloud is for all of us, just like Dropbox and Gmail is for all of us, cloud is for all of us, and all of us can benefit from it. So hopefully you do get some of those perspectives. We'd love to come and talk to you, visit you in your office if you are interested. If you want to know more, just give us a call. If you want a little bit of education, nothing more. I'm not going to ask you to release a purchase order. We'll come talk to you, give you demos, do some POCs for you. See if there is a viability of your organization actually leveraging this. The whole idea is, we would like to begin your cloud journey. And one of the Chinese greats once said, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And we have seen time and again that when organizations have taken that single step, the fear has gone away. They have learned more and they've realized how useful some of this is to run their day-to-day. So with that, let me thank you for being an extremely patient audience here. I know some of this can get boring on a late Friday evening, and I would not want to keep you any longer in this conversation. So thank you so much for being here. We truly appreciate your time, and you've been a great audience. Have a wonderful evening, and let me pass it on back to Omkar.
Thank you, Rishi. Thank you so much, and I would like to thank the audience here. That's